A long time ago, a middle-aged woman rides up to a tall, enclosed tower resembling a giant hourglass. The entire structure is made of black metal, although the top bulb appears to be emitting a pink glow through the matte finish. There are 4 pillars on each corner of the structure. The one closest to the woman has several windows along the outward face and a door at the very bottom. The door is incredibly ornate for being such a normal size, accommodating only one person at a time. The landscape around the tower is rocky, but vegetation manages to creep through the rocks, sprouting glimpses of green. Behind the woman are normal grasslands, some trees, and a city in the distance. A giant teal gas giant looms over the horizon, commanding most of the sky. The woman gets off of the horse and presses a button on the side of the door. She waits a few minutes before a latch clicks and the door opens to a man. He has short black hair, brown eyes, and very nice tailored magistrate robes with purple cotton and gold silk. "Excuse me, sir. There's an issue in the city I think only you can help with. One of the children was casting magic," the woman says nervously. The man's eyes widen as his face shifts, going from annoyed to surprised. The man stutters, adjusting the collar of his robe. "All right, let's go," he says as he climbs out of the door awkwardly, closing it behind him. They both get on the horse, the man riding side saddle behind the woman, back to the city. When they arrive, the city is business as usual, as she takes them to a small restaurant on the side of the street. A skinny, older man walks up to them with 2 guards as well, as he leads them into the restaurant. A 16-year-old boy walks along a busy road in the morning. The air is cool as the sun has only just risen. He walks into a nearby restaurant where a few workers are prepping the kitchen and dining area. The restaurant is within a great tent, where the dining area is open air and the seats go along one big table, shaped in a semicircle around the front half of the kitchen. A wall and some curtains separate the back half of the kitchen. A skinny man with black and white hair and a matching beard is setting up the cooking area, while a blonde woman, only a couple years older than the boy, is fixing up the front. Both are wearing matching aprons. "Hey, Trent," she yawns. "Sorry, Rax is in the back." "Hey, Fal," Trent quietly responds, smiling. "I'm tired too, don't worry." "I wasn't worrying about anything, just hoping no one's going to show up before we're even ready," she groans. Trent walks into the back and sees a skinny older man, Rax, fidgeting with a gas burner. "Ugh, the sparker isn't working. Trent, can you set up a campfire while I go get something?" he groans. Trent nods in response as Rax passes him, patting Trent on the back. Trent looks around the empty kitchen and walks up to a gas burner, which is turned off. "You should still make a campfire," Philaria comments from the door, crossing her arms. Trent looks over and snaps his fingers near the gas burner as it lights a fire. A gentle blue flame appears, barely visible from the slots. Trent puts an iron pan over the flame and walks over to a pile of wood, grabbing a couple of logs and throwing them into one of the open pits that's surrounded by rocks. After a little while, the group led by Rax comes in. 2 guards, the elegantly robed man, and the woman. Rax walks up to the burner and sees that it's on. He sighs as he turns it off and tries to relight it. The sparker's still not working as the guards look at each other. "How did the burner get turned on, Trent?" Rax sighs again. Trent freezes as he looks around. It just, he tries to explain, words failing to come out. "The sparker just worked. It worked once for me." The guards walk over to the burner as the robed man kneels down next to Trent. "My name is Kathos. I'm the wizard in the tower everyone talks about." Kathos smiles. Trent looks at him, nervous, and then back at the guards. "Guards, don't worry. I'll take the boy with me. We're going to have to take the girl. She knows about his powers." "What? No, I don't!" Philaria yells. Rax shakes his head at the guards. "No! Trent, say something!" "She didn't! Leave her alone!" Trent yells. Kathos walks in front of Philaria. "Gentlemen, leave the girl out of it, please," Kathos orders. "Sorry, sir, but we don't take orders from you. The king and queen might be scared of you, but our captains gave us orders. We'll be dismissed if we don't follow them, and there are strict laws about magic use," one of the guards explains. "Yes, but that was left to me to deal with," Kathos retorts. "I'll speak with the king and queen later." "Sorry, sir," the other guard grunts as he grabs the girl. Kathos curses himself as he waves a hand in front of Trent, using his own magic to knock the young man out. A few years later, Trent is assisting Kathos around the castle, mostly in a control room that appears to be a prototype of the control room in the Nexus that Adamar manipulated in the future. Kathos goes up to the main console and puts an arm into one of the slots. As he turns on the machine, arcane energy flows into him. With his free hand, he turns the machine off and gives a pinkish-purple glow. He puts his palms parallel to one another and creates a solidified blue gem that fits perfectly in his hand. It's completely translucent and appears masterfully cut. Hey, you never really told me why you're doing all of this, and why you keep the others from using magic on this planet, Trent sheepishly points out. Kathos sighs as he places the gem in a big crate with a dozen other identical gems. I make these things. They're extremely rare in most cases, as they're generally only found in the craters Nexuses leave behind when they get destabilized, Kathos explains as he tosses a crystal to Trent. When does that happen? When people who aren't arcane Aphanites, unlike myself, try to manipulate it. All of this for some gems? Why can't anyone else use magic then? Trent asks, touching the gem as the surface's satisfying matte, smooth texture that tingles as you run your finger across it. They're pure mana gems. Mana doesn't exist normally, so having it in solid form is like having an explosive charge. And only I can make them. To what end, though? Trent asks. In case we ever need them. That woman that teleports here sometimes, she comes in and takes these and distributes them among other space and arcane Aphanites. She's a space Aphanite. Like you, actually. The magic, then, Kathos? What about the magic? Trent asks again. I created an enchantment spell on the planet that keeps the mana levels low enough to where most people can't even use magic anymore. However, greater schools like Astral, Time, and Arcane can still get through it. You're the first Astromancer I've seen since I've been here. I'm an Arcane Aphanite, so it lets me get around the enchantment spell too. Trent, instead of getting angry or reacting, just chuckles at the thought and looks at Kathos like he's crazy. Kathos looks back at him confused and shakes his head. How did you convince them to let you put up the enchantment? Trent asks. What? Kathos replies. How did you convince them? Oh, I didn't. I'm not from here. They simply didn't notice me put it up, and it was too late once they did. Trent grimaces, getting lost in thought for a couple minutes before working up the nerve to speak again. Why didn't you save Val? Who? My friend from the restaurant. I'm sure she's fine. The following morning, Trent wakes up early and walks back into town, teleports to the front gate, and lets the guards know of his intentions of meeting the king and queen on behalf of Kathos. He let him through, everyone glancing at Trent and talking to themselves, as this is his first time back in years. He nervously creeps into the castle, surprisingly easily, and walks up to the king and queen standing before them in their atrium. Everyone looks uneasy as the silence washes over everyone. I am... Trent begins as he gets interrupted. We know who you are. Apprentice to the mage. What do you want? The king roars, a slight crack in his voice. Valeria, the girl from the restaurant. She was taken when I was found that I had powers. I'm here to take her back, Trent demands, his inexperience showing as he stumbles through his thoughts. The king laughs at him, along with some of the other noblemen. That random girl? What gives you the right to order me for my own prisoners? Prisoner? What has she done? She was punished on my behalf. As if you were angry at me for having powers and took it out on her. I demand she be released at once. Trent takes a small step forward, out of breath. The king looks down at him, beginning to sweat, but no one has noticed yet. He gets more nervous as the conversation goes on. Let me check the dungeon for her. I wish to see her now, Trent demands. No. This is my kingdom, the king argues, and instantly he is flung from his seat as Trent mimes pulling him toward him. The king slides across the floor like a rag doll and stops beneath young Trent. The guards rush in, weapons drawn toward Trent and the king. How dare a young one like you? The king stops to cover his face as Trent throws his hands out and pushes all of the guards violently against the wall. He raises a hand and begins holding the king in the air as nebula coalesce and swirl around him. Where is she? Trent yells with fury, holding back tears as he tries with all of his will to stand still. Boy, I don't concern myself with that rabble, the king mutters. Check the dungeon. The king suddenly falls as Trent's silhouette glows pink, his powers stopping in an instant. Trent turns around to see Kathos in the doorway, calmly walking in, holding a hand out. He gets right up to Trent and grabs him by the neck. He holds his other hand up as they teleport back. Outside of their tower, Kathos shoves Trent to the ground, a calm fury overtaking him. What? Why? Trent furiously gets up and punches Kathos in the stomach, knocking the air out of him, but he keeps his spell on Trent. After a moment of unsteady breaths, Kathos punches Trent back, much harder, causing Trent to cough up blood. These people are fragile without their magic. You can't go throwing your weight around like that, Kathos lectures. I'm not going to have you jeopardize my operation here. I can manually turn off anyone's magic. You just get around my enchantment on the planet because of the tower. So don't get it twisted. You are not in control of your powers around me. Kathos fixes his clothes and walks back into the tower. Trent remains flat on the ground outside, crying, and punches the cobblestone path. That night, Trent stares at the ceiling of his room in the tower, the hum of the Nexus underneath softly filling in the white noise. He gasps in realization, jumps off of the bed, and runs out of his room. He throttles his running to keep the noise level down as he sneaks as fast as he can through the halls. Trent walks into one of the rooms, a decently large library, closing the door behind him silently, and cupping his hands together as a tiny star emerges from them, illuminating the room and floats around him as he controls it. Trent rushes around, stopping at specific books, sometimes grabbing one and flipping through it, trying to remember. Finally, after a few books, he flips through a small booklet resembling a research paper on an arcane spell. Wish. Trent sits down and reads through the dense paper, pantomiming some of the gestures and flows of magic in his free hand. After skimming through it quickly, he gets up, puts out the star that's been orbiting him quietly, and opens the door. Sneaks around to another room, still with the booklet, and goes to one of the storage rooms where there are a few boxes of the mana gems and an inactive portal interface in the back of the room. He grabs one of the crystals and inspects it, turning it around, pressing it, and trying to figure out how it works. Trent hears a faint knocking on the front door of the castle and pauses, dropping the crystal in his pocket and grabbing an extra. He then creeps to the door and puts an ear to it. He hears Kathos get up and walk over to the front door, and as he opens it, Trent hears a woman's voice, erratic and exhausted, but unable to make out any words clearly. Once the conversation starts, Trent rushes out of the library room and goes back to his bedroom. Trent stays up all night inspecting the mana gems and reading through the booklet he took. He doesn't notice the sun coming up, but when Kathos knocks on his room, Trent quickly hides the booklet and puts the gems back in his pocket. Hey, you're awake? Come with me, Kathos mentions quietly. Trent does as he's told, and the two go to the library room again. In the middle, sleeping on one of the couches, Trent sees Valeria. Trent rushes over and hugs her, waking her up, confused. That feels funny. What are you doing? She says, her voice very weak. Trent looks at her and notices how skinny she is. You look funny too. Val? Trent begs. She repeats. I gave her some bread and water. The king ordered her to be brought here because he doesn't want another episode. It seems that she can use some of her magic. She has 2 affinities, which took me by surprise. The guard said she would make puppets in her cell out of thin air, Kathos explains. I don't know what they did to her, but she seems pretty out of it. Trent doesn't respond as Kathos leaves the room. After a few minutes, Trent looks at the gem in his pocket, sitting beside Valeria as she remains sleeping on the couch, her head now resting on his lap. Carefully, he gets up and rushes over to the crystal room, trying not to alert Kathos, and searches through it, looking through the boxes for the biggest gem he can find. He grabs one that's about the size of his head, however, this one is unlike the rest. It's teal. Trent returns to the library room and sets the teal gem on the ground. He grabs the mana gem from his pocket and uses it to funnel mana from himself into the bigger gem. Not realizing what he's doing, the entire mana gem goes pale as the large blob of energy goes from it into the teal gem, and the teal gem cracks in half. Kathos is immediately heard running from the hall, slamming the door open and seeing the cracked gem on the floor. What have you done? Before he could finish his sentence, Kathos falls over, a tiny black centipede crawling on his back, and attaches to the back of his head as it slowly melds into his skin. Kathos freezes as his whole body begins to melt into black ooze, and then from the puddle on the ground it reforms into a hooded figure, still ebbing from under the robes as it tries to form itself. The air doesn't become cold, however. Trent sees his breath. Streaks of smoke draw themselves in the air all around, facing the same direction but not pointing at anything in particular before they fade away. "Thank you." "Help?" The figure tries to speak. Trent is completely frozen in fear as the figure waves one of its sleeves at Philaria. Her pale skin and diminished figure instantly shift into a healthy, more normal shade and size. The figure floats over to Trent and stretches out its sleeve, almost as if it were offering a hand. Trent stares into the empty void of the hood where a face should be. Out from the dark he hears the faintest whisper, "Revenge." Siora and Aultemus appear in a large wooden room at a high-end tavern near the Capitol Towers in town. The room is quiet and the two are on opposite ends. Aultemus is bandaging up, lying on the bed, and Siora is in one of the couches, facing away from him, with her hair blocking her eyes. Aultemus is facing the ceiling, deep in thought but struggling to think of anything, fluctuating between frustration, anger, hopelessness, and impatience. He occasionally tries to move but struggles to do so, wincing at the slight muscle contraction in his abdomen. "I'm sorry, Aultemus, I'm just tired, or I'd heal you more," Siora says with an uneasy timbre in her voice. "It's fine," Aultemus quickly retorts, flatly. The two sit in silence for a long time. Siora tries her best not to fall asleep, but inevitably does on the cushioned chair she was sitting on. Aultemus eventually notices and exhales as he remains laying down on the bed, trying to move, but the pain still keeps him pinned down. "I can't believe how much I've fucked everything up. What's Fusang gonna think when Rilo isn't with us? What does Siora think? She's gonna leave. I lost Fusang, I got Rilo killed. Am I gonna be able to find him on my own? Every person I run into just kicks my ass. I'm not strong enough on my own. I need to think of a plan. I need to learn plasma magic. I can't even find a teacher on this planet. It's a waste of time. I can't sit down for a while. I need to follow my leads. Wherever Fusang went, I guess, plus how am I going to deal with an astromancer? I've never met one. I didn't think my dad even told me to bother learning about them because we've never seen one before. I need to go. I need to... Aultemus finally passes out in bed, a sage green mist in the air hovering around him. He wakes up later, Siora over him, trying to heal him. When she notices his eyes open, she recoils back, putting her hands in her lap. "Hey," Aultemus says nervously. "You okay?" Siora nervously responds. "Yeah, I feel much better, thanks. No problem." "Are you okay?" She hesitates. "I feel fine." The two of them sit next to each other, trying to think of the next thing to say. After a few minutes, there is a knock on the door, a voice saying, "Hello? I'm coming in," followed by a female's voice saying, "We're coming in." Zev and Amina creak the door open and quietly walk inside, closing the door behind them. They move over to the couch on the other side of the room where Siora slept. "You guys holding up well?" Amina begins. Aultemus gets up slowly, moving from his laid-down position to sitting up on the side of the bed. Siora lifts her chair from the base and moves it to face Zev and Amina. "We're fine," Aultemus responds. "No, you're not. Stop playing around," Zev barks back. "You saw someone die, didn't you? You failed to help your friend? Don't ignore what happened. Accept it so you can move on and get going with what you need to do," Zev yells as he gets in Aultemus's face. "Have you fought anyone with arcane magic before?" Aultemus yells back, his eyes fixed to the floor. Zev looks back at Amina with a surprised look on his face. He looks back at Aultemus, immediately going back to his intimidating stare. After a surprised pause, he continues to yell. "Well, you're lucky to be alive, Pinecone. That guy saved your life back there, and he managed it while fighting an arcane Aphanite so you wouldn't have to. The magic doesn't matter. Honor your friend by getting yourself together and go and find your other one, the Valkyrie." He turns it to Siora. Yes, he had green feathers, dark brown trousers, red and yellow belt with a tassel, pointed shoes. They're all really well made, Sierra responds. One of our guards recalls someone that looks like that? Did you alert Zenti? The Valkyrie is important to her, so she would want to know that he's missing, Sierra responds. Yes, we did inform Crystalline authorities that someone took the portal and looked for any weird activity. Amina responds, handing Sierra a stamped parchment. The portal room is under the 2 towers that connect the cities over the river. Thank you, Sierra responds in earnest. We'd better get going, Aultemus says as he struggles to stand up. Sierra looks at him frustrated, but chooses not to say anything. Aultemus walks out of the room and Sierra lags behind, trying to drum up a smile for Amina and Zev. He's not well, Amina sincerely whispers to Sierra. Sierra grimaces when she registers what she said and looks down. She turns and leaves to catch up to Aultemus and stays silent behind Aultemus as they walk through the inn. They meander through the hall, walking down a flight of stairs, and slip through the crowd in the main lobby. The occasional laugh from a group at a table breaks through the white noise. Getting out onto the street and into the city, they notice some signs that point toward the portal room and make their way through. The streets almost turn into alleys leading up to the portal room, and not much traffic can fit through the passages, but just enough room for small convoys and allowing trade. Here, give this to the guard, Sierra says as she runs up to walk alongside Aultemus. She hands him the stamped letter. He glances and takes it from her, giving it a moment of attention before concentrating on moving forward. The portal room they enter has an entirely glass bottom and a ceiling illuminated by the flowing water beneath it. As they approach the only portal in the room, the guard walks up to Aultemus, and Aultemus hands him the letter, walking past him. Sierra flinches but tries to keep up, apologizing to the guard as the two enter the portal into Crystalline. As they enter, Aultemus feels someone tug the hood of his cloak and shout, "There he is!" Aultemus releases a small shock of electricity around him, but realizes what's going on as he sees Zenti run up to them. She's wearing her typical red and gold colors, however, instead of a dress, she's wearing more form-fitting clothing. It appears like thick armor, and she has a backpack hanging from behind her. "Thank God you two are here. We're going to look for Fuson," she blurts out. "Hi, Zenti. How are you holding up?" Sierra happily asks, coming from behind Aultemus. "I don't know. My childhood friend was taken by some random bitch." "Are you okay with leaving the city?" Aultemus asks, genuinely curious. "Yes, it's fine. Let's go. I was given a description of the unusual person, and that they went to Marguerite with a large box, at least enough to hold a Valkyrie in it, so I'm here now," Zenti explains, motioning them as she starts flying toward the portal across the room. Aultemus and Sierra run after her. Valeria is seen walking up to a rudimentary, broken-down log cabin in the mountains, snow covering the trees and grass as she crunches through the brush, holding a small flame in her hand to keep herself warm, and carrying a dead rabbit in the other hand. She walks in, and there are 2 rooms and a small living room containing a bed, dresser, fireplace, and an iron pan hanging above it. Off to the side is a storage room that is empty except for a portal that hums dormantly. Fuson is tied up on the bed, still unconscious. Valeria pulls out the knife from her side and begins working on the rabbit. After about an hour, the portal forms in the room and Trent steps out from it. "Where the hell are we?" he scoffs, looking around. "Why, I'm in a cabin, silly," Valeria giggles. "I guess you are, yeah," he pauses. "You have the bird guy? I told you to deal with the blue one and leave the planet. What are you doing?" "Well, the blue guy has a lot of friends, and I managed to isolate this one. But it's not just the one, you see. It's 2. And the other one is all magic, so I figured I can take her energy, and that'll help me. Or help you, you know?" Valeria explains, bouncing as she speaks. "What?" Trent asks himself as he walks up to Fuson and puts his hand on his head. A few moments go by before Fuson eyes open, turning black as night, with stars shimmering in the darkness. One of the stars begins to get brighter and brighter until his eyes are completely light green. The light shoots out from his eyes directly at Trent, causing him to recoil. "Ah, what the fuck?" Trent yelps, rubbing the spot on his chest where the beam hit. "See? I can take her from his head. I think I'll be stronger to deal with the others after I absorb her." Interesting. Fine, but I'll send one of the Star Guards to help you in case you do something stupid. However... Huh? Valeria grunts, tilting her head. This place is too small. I'll leave him outside. Trent mumbles as he walks into the portal, closing it behind him. There's a sound that comes from outside, accompanied by the portal reappearing and closing again, with a loud thump of 2 large feet crunching in the snow. Valeria runs outside and sees a looming silhouette standing in the snow. The black starscape with blue and purple hues completely stands out from the white, brown, and faint greens of the mountain forest. The silhouette is about 7 feet tall with 2 glowing blue stars where its eyes should be, and down its right flank the arm seems to keep extending into a smooth sword with bright yellow stars at the tip. The silhouette appears completely flat from any direction that you look at it, and the shape only changes as you rotate around the figure to discern its dimensions. If it were to extend its arm out in front of itself, you would not be able to tell, and only until you were at its side that you saw that its arm was extended. So no depth can be perceived from one point of view. The figure has 2 smooth horns that appear more like a halo and that do not link to the center. "Hey, big guy, what's up?" Valeria asks with a smile. The figure doesn't appear to react, but after a few moments, its eyes shift directly to her and then move up and down, as if it nodded. "A man of few words, I see," she mumbles, as she turns around and goes back into the cabin. Valeria hears it pace around the cabin as she walks into the empty storage room and writes inscriptions on the wall with 2 fingers turned into stone. Valeria grabs Fuson, puts him in the middle of the room, and begins channeling spirit magic. He jolts up and sees his eyes changing color between teal and white, as if he strains against the pain, gritting his teeth. Valeria struggles further, pulling against something. Slowly, after an image overlapping Fuson with Elodier's Valkyrie body begins to form, Valeria finally lets go and falls into the ground as an image snaps back together. "Phew, you 2 put up a good fight." "Oh well, we'll be back at it again tomorrow. I'll get you cutie some water or something." Valeria giggles as she moves from prone on the ground to a crisscross position. She murmurs as she gets up and walks out of the cabin, the looming silhouette looking down at her. "No," it grunts. The voice is feminine, as though it were spoken behind a helmet. "Oh my god, you can talk? I didn't know the boss let you do that. And you're a girl? I think. And a big one, too. That's pretty hot. If you weren't all like the sky, I might even... whatever. No to what? Giving the birdie some water? Yes. Keep weak," it replies. Yeah, it won't matter. I don't want them to be uncomfortable. They'll have plenty of time for that." Valeria smirks. In Fuson's head, he and Elodier sit in an empty white room, studying each other. They both have the exact same bruises and cuts on their bodies. "So she's gonna rip us apart, huh?" "Well, I mean, that's one solution," Fuson says, exhaling, laying flat on the ground. "I don't think it's that simple. I think if she knew how, she would have done so already." "You don't seem very excited. Don't you want to be free?" "Not some crazy, violent woman, no. I feel like she has an ulterior motive." "You can't be this naive to think that she's doing out of this for the kindness of her heart, can you? She bound you up and kidnapped us." "She bound me up. Yeah, it's my body." "It's not the time to argue semantics." "I think it is. We're in my head, right? You won't get tired here. I hope she splits us up so I don't have to have some fantasy woman who doesn't know how to empathize with anybody, who's only recently had the bravery to speak up after spying on me my whole life. Real good timing on that one. To our Elodier, may the breeze carry it." Did you come up with that? I've always hated that fucking phrase. Elodier looks down at herself. She feels the swell of emotion she isn't familiar with as her face turns red. Fuson looks over to her. "Oh, what? Are you going to cry? That's hilarious. What am I, the first person to talk to you in a million years or something? Who are you to talk down to me? I'm a god of this world, formed by the very belief of everyone who inhabits it. And you, some unknown Valkyrie celebrity who won some competitions and who everyone thinks is fucking the queen? You don't remember. I've seen everything you've done." "Oh, so now it's everything. Invading my privacy?"
What was I supposed to do? I'm stuck in your head. I'll go crazy in here by myself. And on that note, yes, invading your privacy. What about the girls that you lie to or the fans that you shove to the side because you're above them? You don't have any friends other than Zenti, who is more famous than you, and she actually cares about you. But no, you can't date her because she's too needy like everyone else is. Is that it? You lie to everyone you meet because you don't want them to know the truth, that you're sad like everybody else, that you hate Zenti, or that you hate that she's the only person that you can talk to? So what if I hate Zenti? And I haven't lied to Aultemus, have I? He yells back. They freeze, staring at each other, tears filling their eyes. What does being a god entitle you to? You're not even real. You aren't made of flesh and blood, are you? Is that right? You sound like Zenti. We're all just fucking airheads.